Mike, when we talked to you at SEC spring meetings, you talked about the practices leading up to this trip being just about as valuable. Just what have you seen so far from those practices?
More valuable, really, because you get the 10 additional plus the other hours that the NCAA started giving us in the summers, a few years ago. So we've taken full advantage. We try to mix in some light workouts, some offensive and defensive installs, some workouts where it's more talking and less strenuous. I feel like we got to be careful with the level of physicality this time. I mean, in June and July, right? Because we'll go to Italy and we'll compete with some older teams and get a chance to evaluate where we're at and get right back to it when we come to school. So we got to be smart there as well. But we've gotten a lot done. The intensity level, the competitiveness level in the practice gym has been impressive to this point.
You're hoping to get a lot out of this. Obviously, some team bonding and some chemistry. How much of the progress toward that is going on so far?
A little bit. In fact, had a couple days ago, had one of those long meetings where you force young people to talk to one another, and we'll do some of that in Italy as well. We'll have a couple days too, at least one, and that could change, where there will be no hoops, and it'll be sightseeing and bonding and talking and an opportunity to connect with one another, not only players but staff.
How important is that? Go ahead.
How would you compare the competition you guys are going to be seeing in these three games and what you want to see in the regular season?
You know what? I be honest with you, I would have no idea. I haven't studied who we're playing yet. Honestly, I don't care if we win or lose. I want to play well. I want to get better. We're going to play different combinations to be certain. We'll get 3 opportunities over there. We'll play each guy. Right now, we're considering maybe only playing each guy in a couple games, so we can really evaluate everybody. And again, it's not about winning and losing over there. Hopefully, we play really good teams that we can learn from, and we can have some success, but also have some struggle to where we can learn both ways.
When you talked about the bonding, how important is that in a year like this where the roster looks very different than it did a year ago?
It's really important, and I think it's probably pretty prevalent throughout college basketball right now. It is what it is. So these opportunities here every 4 years, the NCAA allows you this opportunity. We're taking full advantage. I hadn't done this since Louisiana Tech. We did it at Louisiana Tech. We went to Atlantis in the Bahamas, had a great experience. Had some success. Again, had some struggles over there too, but grew and became closer when we came back in the fall. We were just a little bit ahead of where we normally would have been.
What have you seen from Russell so far this year? Obviously, it was literally a big role, big guy on the team. That's something y'all really kind of lacked last year.
Yeah, presence. 7 foot 285. A guy that's rebounded and defended at a high level in a league that's pretty comparable. I think the SEC is the best league in the country right now, but he's done it at a pretty high level, and the way he moves is really impressive for a guy with his size, and he's a developing offensive player that's only going to continue to get better. He's gotten better throughout his career.
I was going to ask you, obviously his presence is significant. Do you know yet how you guys are going to look, how you're going to play? Is it going to be markedly different than what you've traditionally done or did last year?
No, we tried to play really fast last year. I mean, we struggled down the stretch, of course, didn't finish the way we wanted to finish. February played 9 games, 6 were NCAA tournament teams, if I'm not mistaken. Played in a league that, again, was as competitive as any league in the country. Got off to a great start, just didn't finish the way we wanted to finish. That said, we finished 3rd in tempo offensively. We sold out to it, and we sell it in recruiting, and we're going to continue to do that. We want to be one of the fastest playing teams in our league. We might change schematically what we're doing when we get stuck in the half court from time to time, and we're experimenting with some of that stuff right now. But defensively, there'll be a lot of similarities too. Hopefully, just better. We a little bit longer. Hopefully, we're a little bit more competitive. We take a little bit more pride in defending and rebounding at a high level to be more competitive in the SEC.
You mentioned it, but you kind of talked about recruiting a little bit. What is it like to kind of have younger guys on the team, just true freshmen, once again, since that wasn't really something you guys had last year?
Yeah, we definitely have more. We had one that didn't make it through the year, but we had a couple freshman walk-on players last year that are important pieces to our program, and they continue to get better, and added another walk-on this year. So we like the mix of youth and veterans. We like the talent level that we got out of high school and out of the portal, and I feel like all 4 of those freshmen that were top 100 guys that we brought in have chances to be really good players.
How different is Russell's skill set compared to other guys on the roster, and how big was he in terms of when you made these transfer additions to get a guy like him?
It just gives you a chance, Mark, night in and night out, to have a guy that physically is comparable to the other guys in this. I mean, this is a big, strong, tough league that's arguably the best defensive league, the best rebounding league in college basketball, and he gives you a chance night in and night out. But there's a couple other guys too that do the same thing. A couple returners, Jalen DeLoach as well. We just added depth, interior prowess overall on the roster. But Russell, it's funny, as a staff we talk about he might only get, like, say, a couple offensive rebounds in a practice, but those wings might get a couple each because of the presence that he is and the attention that he demands in terms of putting bodies on him on the glass.
How difficult was it to sell Georgia to young guys who may not know much about Georgia basketball, maybe other than Anthony Edwards or Nick Claxton?
Well, we sell those guys for sure, and congrats to all of Ant's success here recently. A couple of big pieces of news for him here recently, but there's just so much to sell here. Before you even get into the athletic department, you talk about the weather, you talk about the #1 college town in the country. You talk about being a top 10 public academic now. What Jerry and the higher administration has done here has been unbelievable, right? Congrats to the academia side of this university. And then you get into what all these other sports are doing, led by Kirby and football. There's a ton to sell here. It's a great time to be a dog, and we're going to sell as much as we can, obviously, and through to the portal and to AU coaches and high school coaches, and we're going to continue to be involved with good players.
How much you allowed yourself to think about or even talk about March Madness? And I say that because some of the programs that excel through portal and players staying together rather than the quote blue bloods, that it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely sell it in recruiting as much as possible, that we can get that done here. There's no excuse for us not to get that done here. That's why we came here. That's why, at the end of the day, we hope that a lot of these decisions were made by the people that we bring in, these young people, high school or portal, for them to have individual success. All these young people want to have individual success, of course, but be a part of something bigger than themselves in addition, and help Georgia get back to an NCAA tournament.
How valuable have the guys that came back from last year been through these early practices, just because they sort of understand, what you guys are expecting?
They've been good. 4 of them, and a couple will continue to challenge to be a little bit more vocal, but all 4 have been pretty good leaders by example, especially Jabri. He sticks out a little bit, and I just feel like it's right to say that. He's been really impressive. How many minutes he plays, how many points he scores, those things remain to be seen, right? But he's grown a lot, and he's had a really good month or so. The game has slowed for him, his maturity level has increased, and he's gone from a guy that was searching a little bit, how do I impact, third coach in 3 years, to finding maybe a little bit of continuity, comfort level, and you can see it with his body language. I think you guys will see that today.
Have you been to Italy before, and how much is Coach looking forward, things to see and things to eat?
Fired up. I could eat pizza every night. I'm going to do that in Italy. Excited about seeing the coast, excited about seeing Rome, in the Vatican, and taking the tours, and excited for our guys to learn a lot about that stuff as well.
Are you guys going to see the Pope?
Don't think so.
Colo Pope?
Always like seeing him too on TV and in person.
When you look at this trip, what is the biggest objective? What do you want to come out of the trip saying, okay, we accomplished this?
Connection, optimism about what we could become, pride about what we've learned, and familiarity with the install, offensively and defensively, with our identity of when we get back to work, whatever that date is, because it's liquid right now, depending on what happens in Italy. I don't know when we'll get back to work, how much time they'll need away from it, but when we get back to work, just that level of familiarity, where we're at, and how we get to where we want to be.
Can you talk about your schedule a little bit? You guys have got
Beefed it up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's significantly, I would say. Would you?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I want to say off the top of my head, we have 6 high major opponents. Is that right? You guys probably know better than I do. I'm focused on practice.
4 ACC, right? Something like that.
Is that right?
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
We've got a bunch of good teams. And then if you look at it closely too, those numbers with the with some of the mid-major teams that we'll bring to Stegman aren't exactly easy ones. You know, there will be 2 or 3, 4 difficult ones as well. But again, with that comes opportunity for growth, and that's at the end of the day. In March, we want to be as good as we possibly can be. So there won't be much easy stuff on our schedule this year, right? But it gives you a chance to get better throughout the year.
Is that the Mike White philosophy you think going forward? I mean, you want to play as tough as you can in non-conference before you get into conference?
Yeah, we'd like to mix in some that we feel like maybe we can get healthy this game, or maybe we can play a freshman a certain amount of minutes this game. We don't have many of those in a perfect world. You got a couple more of those maybe. I guess in exchange for some of the pretty darn good mids that will play. But in terms of having 4, 5, 6, 7 high major opponents in the non-conference, yeah, we'd like to do that year in and year out. We really would, for opportunities, for growth, for computer numbers, for postseason opportunities. We're at the University of Georgia, right? We want to be at the highest level. We got to play the highest level.
You might have said this earlier. How many practices are you allotted just for this trip, and is everyone good to go health-wise?
Everybody's healthy, yeah, for the most part. We've remained pretty healthy. You get 10 extra practices, but then with the hours that you would have gotten before those, before this trip, you can combine those hours any way you want. So really, you take those hours and you could add, instead of individual workouts, certain weeks you can make that into another practice or 2. So ultimately, we'll get 10 to 15 to 20 based on. At the end of the day, I would say 15 to 20, not 10, because we're already, past that. Whether you want to call them longer workouts or practices or what have you. Used to be the NCAA would say you only get 4 out there at one time, and now that's not a thing. So, yeah, we're taking full advantage, and we're enjoying it.
Time for maybe one more question.
How big do you feel like staff continuity, having everybody back from last year, is for the things you guys want to accomplish in this program?
I think it's big. We had a couple of assistant coaches that were involved with head jobs, and you want your assistant coaches to get head jobs. And guys that I've worked with that are head coaches now, we continue to lean on each other. And I'd like for all 3 of my assistant coaches to be head coaches sooner than later. They want to be head coaches, and they're head coaches in the making. But we've got to have success here, and we've got to build this thing. But the flip side of them not getting opportunities is you got more continuity, and our young people have more continuity. We're certainly ahead. This time last year, heck, we were still moving our families to Athens. So how many wins that results in, who knows? But we're certainly a better team today than we were 365 days ago.
It's nice to just be settled. It's nice to just be
settled.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. It's really nice for all of us to be settled. It feels more like home now for all of us, of course.
Practice starting.